What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Scotian Canadian channel, and depending on when you're watching this video, we could be one day or minutes away from starting the series we have all been waiting for 42 years, and this last week, finally, this Toronto Maple Leafs and Montreal Canadiens series is going to get underway. And you've come to the right place. We are going to preview this series top to bottom, both Habs and the Leafs roster. We're going to go through the advanced analytics, and I'm going to share with you how I think both teams can win this series. As usual, if you like these videos, hit that like and subscribe button, and of course, follow me on Twitter at Scotian Canadian. Let's get right into it. I think this is going to be an intense series, but most importantly, it's going to be an intriguing and complex matchup. You have two teams, rivals, that have built their teams very differently and have different philosophies in how they like to play the game. First, you look at the Leafs forward group, and they rely on that top six to put up most of their offense. Yes, they've got good depth now in the forward group as well, but they roll those top two lines heavily, and that's where a lot of that offense comes from. And why wouldn't you? They are stacked in that top six, one of the best, if not the best, in the entire NHL. Then you look at the Habs forward group, and they're built to roll four lines, come at you in waves, and the scoring is all up and down the Habs forward group. They don't necessarily have a first line offensively. They got a couple seconds and a couple thirds, but they like to spread out the minutes evenly and get production all up and down the lineup. Then you look at the Leafs defense, and as much as they've improved defensively, these are guys that like to move the puck, get involved in the transition, get involved in the play in the offensive zone, and support those forwards and be very dynamic. Then you look at the Habs decor, and these are mostly big, hulking defensemen that they're fairly good at moving the puck as well, but their strong suits are shutdown defense, beating you up in the corners and in front of the net, splitting up the plays while they're defending, make that quick pass to the forwards and let the forwards do most of the rest of the work up the ice. Then once in the O-zone, these defensemen usually just like to shoot the puck from the point into traffic and bang away to help those forwards get some dirty goals. So very contrasting builds in terms of both teams here. Then you look at the goaltending on the Leafs side. You have Jack Campbell, who's had a fantastic year, but a little inexperienced in playoff hockey, and he's not much of a puck-moving goalie. Then you look at the Habs side, and you have Carey Price, who has a ton of experience winning big games. He's gone on playoff runs, and he's won big tournaments as well. And he is a puck-moving goaltender. So again, contrasting situations on both sides. Now for the Habs, as major underdogs in this series, to win, what they need to do essentially is play perfect hockey and play to their strengths, which is that two-way game. But in those first two games, most importantly, not only just defend, they need to frustrate and punish these Leafs and hope to come out with at least one on the road against them and extend this series as long as they can, because the longer this series goes, the better chance Montreal has of wearing down the Leafs, getting it in their head, and pulling off a major upset. Now on the opposite side of it, the Leafs, they need to get to Carey Price early, put a dent in his confidence, and they need to stay out of their own heads and just play the game that they know that they are capable of. If they can score 4 goals a game, which they are very capable of, they will win this series quite easily. As the heavy favorite, who went 7-2-1 against the Habs this season. Now let's get into the entire Toronto Maple Leafs roster, and it starts with this nasty top six. We got Auston Matthews. We all know what he is capable of. 41 goals this year, and he's been very strong in the faceoff dot, and he's improved his defensive game as well. I would not say he's the epitome of consistency in terms of defense, but what I will say, he's really good at taking the puck away, and then once he gets the puck on a stick in the O-zone, it's really difficult to get it away from him. The same can be said for Mitch Marner in the offensive zone as well. But as well as putting up 67 points, he is a very strong defensive forward as well, putting up 41 blocks as a forward. That is very impressive. He's one of the best playmakers to go along with that in the entire NHL. Very dynamic and an exciting player to watch for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And to complement them perfectly, over on the left, they have Zach Hyman, who is their Brendan Gallagher. Now, maybe not as much bite and a little less goal scoring, but he is very strong at winning those puck battles down low. He's also strong in tight in the slot, banging away greasy goals, and he's got a strong shot on him too when he wants to release it, putting up 15 goals in just 43 games this season. Now we go down to that second line, and you have JT, John Tavares, lined up at center, their captain. Very experienced, albeit hasn't been on any playoff runs really in his entire career, but this season, 50 points in a full season. He's also really strong in the dot at 55%, and that's a strength for the Leafs, winning those draws and maintaining that possession. And JT, again, another guy who's strong in the O-zone, keeping the cycles going. and winning battles, and great shot on him, a knack for scoring goals. And William Nylander to his right, they've developed some really strong chemistry. Nylander with 42 points on the season. Now what I will say is for the Habs, there's an opportunity here to exploit a guy like Nylander in terms of his defensive play. But what the Leafs are going to be hoping for is that Foligno on the left, a veteran presence who has, he's very experienced in terms of playoff hockey, and especially with the style that he plays. I think they want this him to complement that line and complete it. So 20 points on the season for Foligno, but his experience and his grit should complete this top six. Then you go down, and third line center making his debut for the Toronto Maple Leafs is Riley Nash, a very strong defensive center who's right-handed and strong in the face-off dot. So when you need a guy to take a strong side face-off in the defensive zone, he is your guy, and it's hard to get offense going against a guy like this. And to his left will be Alex Kerfoot, an experienced center who will be playing wing now for the Toronto Maple Leafs. So that'll look good for them defensively as well, but he can also provide some depth scoring. And over to their right, you have Ilya Mikheyev, the big Russian winger, who can absolutely fly. An equivalent to him on the Habs would be Arturi Lehkonen, a guy who gets tons of scoring chances, but just can't seem to bury it. Now, if he can get his game going in the playoffs like Lehkonen seems to for the Habs, that's going to be a big threat that the Leafs will have against the Montreal Canadiens here. Not only a third line that can defend, but can also put up some scoring as well. And his speed, you got to watch out for it. He can beat the defenseman wide. As soon as he gets a look, he is gone. Now we'll go down to that very experienced fourth line for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and it starts with Jason Spezza, who has rejuvenated his career in Toronto at the ripe age of 37 years old, putting up 30 points in 54 games, and not only that, rocking a 57% face-off winning percentage. That is extremely impressive, and he's right-handed as well, so another guy who can win those strong side face-offs in the D zone to help you just get the puck out of the defensive zone. And to his left, you have the grizzled veteran who's chasing a cup, just like Spezza, Joe Thornton with the majestic beard. 20 points in 44 games for him. He's a playmaker first, and his passes, especially on the power play, where he can be a very strong threat for the Leafs, are disgusting. Just laser tape-to-tape passes. You got to watch out for them. He'll be in his office at the goal line or behind the net trying to set up the goal scorers of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And to their right, you have Wayne Simmons, another grizzled vet who is an absolute beast. Some injury trouble this year, but he is ready to go, and he's going to be key for this Toronto Maple Leafs team to fight off the grittiness and the toughness of the Montreal Canadiens. Simmons also putting up 7 goals this year in 38 games. Great net front presence on the power play, so he is going to be a key player for this Toronto Maple Leafs team in a very specific role. Now let's go down to the very much improved Toronto Maple Leafs decor, starting with a key piece that really altered the look of this defense this year is TJ Brodie. Just a rock back there for them, making the right decisions in the D zone, not panicking, not trying to do too much, just getting the puck to his D partner or up to a forward who can skate that up the ice. He also complemented that strong defensive play with 14 points in 56 games, and he's made a great partner for Morgan Rielly, the Leafs' main puck-moving and dynamic offensive defenseman who put up 35 points in 55 games. Watch out for Morgan Rielly through the neutral zone and as well on the power play. Now down to that second pair, the Leafs shutdown pair, and it starts with Jake Muzzin, one of the best two-way defensemen in the NHL, and a big boy at that, 6'3", 217 pounds. He plays with grit. He's hard to play against. 101 hits and 94 blocks for Jake Muzzin, and he complements that with 27 points, including 23 assists. He's also got an underrated shot on the rush. Once he gets past that offensive blue line, he likes to try and snipe one the odd time as well. A fantastic defenseman and a key for the Toronto Maple Leafs in this series. And his partner, out of the woodwork, becoming an elite shutdown defenseman, Justin Hall. He's been incredible for the Leafs this year and completed their top 4. 82 hits, 84 blocks, and 20 points in 55 games. Does a bit of everything, and he has made a perfect partner with the right-handed shot for Jake Muzzin, the lefty. Now down on that bottom pair, and we may see some juggling here and there, but it looks like they're going to start with the veteran Zach Bogosian on the right, another guy who's hard to play against, 67 hits on the year. He's not going to provide you much offense at all, but he's going to be hard to play against in that defensive zone. And it's always good to have a veteran down there on the third pair as well. And his partner, the rookie, Rasmus Sandin, who in a short stint with the Leafs has really shown how dynamic he can be with the puck in creating offense, the speed up the ice through the neutral zone, and some really dynamic plays and creative plays, keeping that cycle going in the offensive zone and especially on the power play. This D pair could be a game changer for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But what I will say is the Habs are going to want to look to exploit the lack of speed from Bogosian and the inexperience from Rasmus Sandin. Now let's look at the Toronto Maple Leafs goaltending. They are obviously going to go with Jack Campbell, who has been fantastic for them this year. Almost unbeatable, it seems. I think he only had 3 losses or 4 losses. The guy has been incredible, and he is in his prime as a goalie. It's taken him a while to get here, but he is finally here, and he has an opportunity to go on a long run with the Toronto Maple Leafs. This season, a .921 save percentage and 2.15 goals against. Again, what I will say though, has never played a playoff game. So the Habs are going to want to get to his nerves and shake his confidence. But he has been a rock back there for the Leafs, and another guy who could be, and I think needs to be, a game changer for them, because the Leafs, as improved as they are defensively, and they will bleed some high danger scoring chances. And we'll get into that when we get into the advanced analytics. So Montreal is going to have some odd man rushes, maybe some breakaways. Jack Campbell is going to have to make some big stops for them. And the last thing Toronto wants, and what Montreal does want, is to start a goalie controversy in Toronto. They're going to want to get to Jack early, like I said, and maybe we'll have them questioning whether or not they should bring in Freddie Anderson. I'm not so sure that's how it'll play out, but that would be lovely for the Habs. Freddie Anderson with a 2.96 goals against this year to go along with a .895 save percentage. His absolute worst year as a Toronto Maple Leaf. Dealt with some injury woes, and it just didn't work out for them. But the Leafs had run him dry the last few years when they had all those defensive problems, and he was a key for them being as good as they've been these last few years, and it just didn't quite work out for him this year. But if he does happen to draw in for the Leafs, it's not a weakness. He is rested, and he should be just fine back there for this Toronto Maple Leafs team. Now let's look at this Habs roster, the team who went 3-6-1 against the Leafs in the regular season and ended up finishing 4th in the North Division. And not only that, they end up with the least amount of points out of any team that qualified for the NHL playoffs. So they are a severe underdog in this series, to say the least. I don't want to hide around the fact that if they happen to beat the Leafs, this is a massive accomplishment for them and a big step forward in terms of their build, especially for this young forward group, specifically down the middle. But that being said, Montreal has a ton of veteran leadership up and down this lineup as well. 6 Stanley Cup champions on the roster, including 4 that will be playing. So the Habs are going to rely on their veteran leadership and the guys who've done it before to keep them in the pocket, to focus on the task at hand and take this one game at a time. So we'll start with the Habs first line, the one that is known as one of the best possession lines in the NHL. They're very difficult to play against in terms of getting your own offensive game going. They're good through the neutral zone, transitioning up the ice, and then holding it in the offensive zone until they get a scoring chance. And it starts with Phil Deneau at center, one of the best two-way centers in the NHL, who complements his wingers very, very well. Not only that, he is a rover out there, covers a lot of ice in a very short amount of time. And for example, Auston Matthews has only ever scored 1 5-on-5 goal against him in his career. And we all know that Matthews is the best goal scorer in the NHL. So that just speaks to how strong Phil Deneau is defensively. And his winger over on the right, who is now healthy, Brendan Gallagher. We say it all the time, the heart and soul of this team, the one who keeps the gears moving. He wins those battles all over the ice, especially down low in the offensive zone. He shoots from anywhere. His shot is extremely strong, that snapshot. Consistent 30-goal scorer this season, again on pace for 30, with 14 goals, 9 assists for 23 points in 35 games. Had the wrist injury, broken wrist, but he is back now and ready to go. And over to their left, the guy that completes this, the chemistry of this line, is Thomas Tatar. 30 points in 50 games. He's known as a skilled winger and more so a playmaker, some would think, but he has got a very accurate shot when he has time to release that. And not only that, he's underrated in terms of his defensive ability and his ability to win pucks along the wall. Now we go down to the Habs second line, Nick Suzuki with 41 points in 56 games this year. A big step forward for him, and he not only provides the Habs some very strong offense, especially on the power play, but he is a very, very efficient two-way center who is strong defensively. So Phil Deneau and Nick Suzuki are definitely going to be assigned as much as possible to Matthews and Tavares. And they've shut down Crosby and Malkin in the past. I have no doubt they're capable of doing the same to that Leafs top 6. Suzuki's left winger is Stanley Cup champion Tyler Toffoli. 28 goals on the season for him. He's just efficient out there. He's not fast. He's not overly skilled. He just gets it done somehow. Played at a almost 50 goal pace this year. Incredible season for Tyler Toffoli. And then over to the right, you have Yoel Armia, a big hulking winger who is strong defensively, and he's really good in tight with the puck when it's in his feet. He's great at winning those battles. He's got some underrated puck skills and an underrated shot as well. His main goal here is definitely going to be to shut down the Leafs, though. And a lot of Habs fans are up in arms right now that Cole Caulfield isn't playing on this line to start. Now, I have a feeling that they're going to address Yoel, I could be wrong, that they're going to address Yoel Armia for the road games to start and maybe insert Cole Caulfield for the home games when they can control the matchups a bit better. So don't panic, Habs fans. Cole Caulfield will get his opportunity in this playoff series. And now, down on the third line, you have Stanley Cup champion Eric Staal. 13 points in 53 games. Not a good offensive season for him whatsoever. He's stuck in Buffalo for a good portion of that. But the Habs want to rely on his veteran presence, his big body at 6'4", around 200 pounds. To win those battles down in the corners and then move the puck up to his defenseman and just to keep the cycle going, and also as net front presence on the power play to get some tips and bang away some pucks. Now this is the spot where Jesperi Kotkaniemi would slot in if they do bring out Staal. I would not be surprised to see that happen after the first game or two. The Habs are going to want to rely on their depth here and have fresh bodies against this Toronto Maple Leafs team and kind of throw something different at them every night. So I would not be surprised to see Kotkaniemi draw in, especially, after he's gotten a break from the regular season where he really struggled at the end there. So the scratch makes sense to me because he really was not the greatest for us to close out the season, but maybe that break and the rest has done wonders for him, and when he draws in, not only will he be rested, but being scratched the first game could really motivate him as well. And Kotkaniemi likes to play tough, likes to play aggressive and throw the body and get really gritty down in the corners. And he's got some underlying skill as well. He showed a lot of that off early in the season. So I'm looking forward to him drawing back into this lineup. Now, on the wings on this third line, first you have Corey Perry, a Stanley Cup champion who is going to be an absolute prick to play against in this series against the Leafs. He's going to turn it to another notch. He's going to be dirty out there. He's going to be involved in every scrum possible. At 6'3", 206, he's a big body, and he's also put up a really respectable offensive season as well with 12 goals on the season in 49 games. Great season for us for Corey Perry. Scored a ton of clutch goals, and we're going to need that from him in this playoff series. And then over on their right is big Josh Anderson at 6'3", 230 pounds, 17 goals on the season, and he can skate like the wind, and he will crunch guys on the board in open ice. He is going to be a handful to deal with for this Toronto Maple Leafs team. This is a forward built for this playoff style hockey, and a few years ago the Tampa Bay Lightning had no answer for him when the Columbus Blue Jackets swept them as the severe underdog. The perfect type of guy you want on your team as the underdog. 139 hits on the season for Josh Anderson. Leafs fans can't stand him. Leafs players soon will not stand him either. I cannot wait to see this guy get going. This is a very intriguing third/fourth line for the Montreal Canadiens. Then we go down to the fourth line, and very different. This line is built on speed, and it starts with Jake Evans at center. 13 points in 47 games, but he really turned it on for us when he got a key role at the end of the season here. He's strong through the neutral zone skating the puck. He's just fast on his skates, getting around defensemen, and he has some underlying offensive skills as well. I'd love to see that flourish in this series against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Right-handed shot and 50% in the faceoff dot this season as a rookie. So he's going to be our guy going to win those strong side faceoffs in the defensive zone and then transitioning up the ice with speed. And on his wing to the right, you have veteran Paul Byron, who's a small guy, but he plays tough. 116 hits in only 46 games. Not only that, he is extremely fast. We all know what he can do on the breakaway, but he's also really strong at finishing fast plays in tight in front of the net. He's great at deflecting the puck and just Scoring goals, he's been a consistent 20-goal scorer these last few seasons. Again, this depth scoring for the Montreal Canadiens is going to be key for them in this series. And then over to their left is Artturi Lehkonen. And another guy, really, really fast foot speed. He's 7 goals this season on 47 games. A guy who, like I mentioned, like Mikheyev, tons and tons of scoring chances, plays the game perfectly. He's always in the right place defensively and offensively, but just can't seem to finish. But he always steps it up in the playoffs. So I'm hoping we see that playoff version of Artturi Lehkonen. This line played fantastic for us to close out the season, develop some chemistry, and not only that, because of each of these forwards' strengths defensively, I would be comfortable throwing these guys out against the top lines of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So they are going to do a ton of work helping out the Habs' top 6 lines, especially on the road, in shutting down the Toronto Maple Leafs offense. Now, down to this big, grueling, tough, gritty decor for the Montreal Canadiens. And it starts with Stanley Cup champion Joel Edmondson, who has been a rock for the Montreal Canadiens this season. 75 hits and 98 blocks. He's tough in the corners. He will absolutely smash guys, make them pay for it if they want to retrieve a puck. He's great at defending the defensive blue line, whether that's with an active stick or laying the body. And he has made a perfect partner this season for one of the best two-way defensemen in the NHL, Mr. Jeff Petrie. This guy does it all. Skates like the wind. He's great on his edges. Puts up a ton of points. He can score goals. He's got a snipe from the point, picking corners. 12 goals, 30 assists for 42 points for him this season, to go along with 60 blocks and 97 hits. The guy is an absolute beast, and we need him to be an MVP for us in this series against the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now down to that second pair. Starting on the left side, we have John Merrill, a newcomer from the Detroit Red Wings. One of the only plus players on the Detroit Red Wings this season. That is saying something. He is solely a shutdown defenseman. He just wants to break up the plays and make a quick and accurate first pass. And he will be paired up with Shea Weber, who is now 100% healthy, getting that wrist healed up, and he is good to go. We know what he brings, that absolute blast from the point, and he's great at getting that puck through traffic 5-on-5 as well. But not only that, a very, very strong shutdown defenseman, brutal to play against in the corners and in front of the net with his cross checks that the Leafs fans are going to absolutely hate. He's going to be looking to absolutely beat up these Leafs forwards when they go in to retrieve pucks. And not only that, he is incredibly strong with his gap control and his active stick, shutting down plays and then moving the puck the other way. Just very, very consistent out there when he is playing at his best. Now, this is the pair where I would expect Alex Romanov to draw in if he does, the rookie defenseman who had 138 hits. The kid is about 5'11", 200, but he is heavy and he can smash guys that are way bigger than him. He loves to play that rough style of play, but he's also a great skater. Strong defensively, he showed early in the season, but definitely struggled in the latter half. This is another guy who might get fired up getting scratched this first game of the series. Now down on the third pair, you have Brett Kulak, who is low-key a good puck-moving defenseman. He doesn't make mistakes too often out there with the puck. He's good at making quick decisions in the D-zone and supporting his defense partner as well. He's also strong at skating that puck through the neutral zone and getting the zone entries. And he will be paired up with big Ben Sherratt, 6'3", 234 pounds. Another guy who is really difficult to play against in the defensive zone, in those corners and in front of the net. He loves to just body guys and throw them around. He's also underrated in terms of his puck moving as well. He's not going to put the points up on the board, but he can definitely skate for a big body. Now, he dealt with some injury troubles this season, but despite that, 77 hits in just 40 games. And this is another experienced defenseman who's gone on some runs. Now down to the Habs goaltending. They are obviously going to start with Carey Price. This is his crease, and every single time this guy gets into the playoffs, he is ready to go and puts up elite numbers. Even last season, when he had his ups and downs through the regular season play, he came into the playoffs and was an absolute beast, putting up a 1.7 goals against average. I expect no less from him in this playoff series against the Leafs. He seems to just play up to his competition. He is really gonna, take pride in stopping the Leafs top six and their lethal elite level forwards. But it has to be mentioned, Carey struggled this season, .901 save percentage and a 2.64 goals against average. Definitely can't put up those numbers in the playoffs. Then in the backup position, Stanley Cup champion Jake Allen. He played fantastic for the Habs when Price went down. Really was the key for us still being able to make the playoffs despite not having our best player in Carey Price. Jake Allen posted a 2.68 goals against and a .907 save percentage. So if he happens to need to come in, which I do not expect unless there is an injury, knock on wood, we don't want to see that, he could be strong for us back there as well. Now, let's quickly go over some advanced analytics and statistics for both of these teams as a whole, starting with expected goals for and expected goals against for both of these squads. This is a very important statistic that analytics people use heavily now to gauge how good teams are. So looking at the Montreal Canadiens, a 65.1% expected goals for. That's good enough for 10th in the NHL, above average. Now, their expected goals against, 52.1%, 18th in the NHL, below average, but if you look at the Leafs, they still got one up there on them. So the expected goals against for the Leafs sitting at 51%, a slight difference there between both teams. And then for the Leafs, their expected goals for is second in the NHL. They are absolutely elite offensively. We all know this with the 81.4% expected goals for. So the Leafs have the major advantage offensively, where the Habs have the slight advantage defensively. Now, what I will say in defense of the Habs is for the latter half of the season, they were missing 3 or 4 core players at any given time. A ton of injuries here, but they were still able to put up very respectable expected GF and expected GA statistics. Now, down to high danger scoring chances for and high danger scoring chances against. Montreal third in the league for high danger scoring chances for, in comparison to the Leafs sitting at 4th. So Montreal actually has an advantage here over the Leafs in terms of high danger scoring chances. But if you look at the shooting percentage down further down lower a bit here, shooting percentage, Montreal 9% to the Leafs 10.6%. So an additional 1.6% finishing rate for the Toronto Maple Leafs. That would explain why their XGF is so much higher than the Montreal Canadiens, because they're actually finishing their high danger scoring chances, where the Canadiens seem to have trouble with that. Now, high danger scoring chances against, Montreal sitting at 20th, the Leafs at 25th in the league. So again, Montreal has the advantage here defensively over the Toronto Maple Leafs. Corsi for percentage. This is a stat that Montreal always seems to dominate, and they're again second in the league with a 54.4% Corsi for percentage. And a big reason for that is because they just love to throw pucks on net from all over the place. So that draws up that Corsi for percentage. Now, if Montreal's going to do that, they're going to need guys in tight finishing off these plays, because you can't be just throwing pucks on net and giving possession back to a team like the Toronto Maple Leafs. They would absolutely eat that up and love for you to do that. Now, the Leafs, 51% in terms of Corsi, sitting at 11th, above average. I don't think that means a whole lot. Now, in terms of special teams, Montreal, 19.2%. on the power play, 17th in the NHL, so sitting around average. This is an area where they have struggled and been inconsistent all year, but they are going to need this to be strong in the playoffs to have any shot at beating the Toronto Maple Leafs. So you really got to hope at some point Cole Caulfield draws in, because he will actually finish some of these plays on the power play with the dynamic and incredible release that he has on his stick. Leafs power play, for some reason, has been struggling. Now, sitting at 20%, right around where the Habs are, they're at 16th with a slight advantage of us. I cannot believe how this Leafs power play has continued to struggle with all the talent that they have. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out, but I could see this Leafs power play turning it around in the playoffs when it matters most. But the Habs have to hope to just keep it at bay and keep it struggling like it has for the vast majority of this season. Now, penalty kill, Montreal 78.5%, definitely could be much, much better. They've been a little bit better towards the end of the season here, but they're going to really need to pick it up here in this series against the Leafs. 78.5% is not good enough, sitting at 23rd in the NHL. And again, the Leafs right around the same area of the Habs in terms of special teams, with a 78.5, exactly the same percent penalty kill for 24th in the league. Montreal was just a tad bit better. So again, Montreal's power play is going to need to be fantastic in this series to have a chance to win. So the Leafs are going to be looking to have a much better penalty kill than just 78.5%. Well, guys, that's about it. I think we covered absolutely everything. Like I said, the Toronto Maple Leafs are the heavy favorite here, and they absolutely deserve to be. So much the heavy favorite that it might be almost impossible for the Montreal Canadiens to win this series. But the Habs are no doubt capable of it because of their leadership, their experience, their toughness, their goaltending, and their ability to just roll four lines and keep guys fresh. It's a good problem to have that they have numerous guys chomping at the bit to get into this lineup. So at some point, you're going to see some fresh players and some fresh players that can really have an impact on this series. So that's going to be a key for this Montreal Canadiens team. And what I will say, as hard as it's going to be, if they play to their strengths and make this a long series, they are no doubt capable of pulling off this massive, massive upset against the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are desperately, desperately trying to win a playoff series for the first time in decades. All the pressure is on them right now to win this series. They've went all in, trading away tons of picks to build this roster, and the time is now. They've got some big UFA situations coming up here. No doubt, must win this series against the Montreal Canadiens. Let's go, guys. It's about to begin. I hope you all enjoy it. Let's keep the banter down in the comments in this video, and not only that, my reaction videos as respectful as possible. There doesn't need to be real hate here. Let's definitely dislike each other through this series, but we all love hockey. We love our teams, and we are here for a reason. And that's because we want to see our team succeed. So how can we blame each other for that? Am I right? Nevertheless, go Habs, go, baby! Woo!